Go ahead and play this clip here with Chris Wallace on his thoughts with Tucker and Putin interview.
Tucker Carlson showed up in Moscow this week to interview Vladimir Putin. It turned out to be anything but an interview. Putin droned on for 2 hours and 7 minutes, while Tucker sat there like an eager puppy. Occasionally, but rarely, he got in a question, like this one about the power of the deep state in Washington.
It sounds like you're describing a system that's not run by the people who are elected in your telling.
That's right. That's right.
But more telling than what Tucker asked is what he didn't ask. Nothing about why Putin invaded a sovereign country. Nothing about targeting civilians. Nothing about Russian war crimes. A reporter can ask Putin a tough question if he wants a real interview. Why is it that so many of the people that oppose Vladimir Putin end up dead or close to it?
That's a strong question, man.
But apparently, that's not why Tucker went to Moscow. During the Cold War, gullible Westerners who spread Soviet propaganda were dismissed as useful idiots. But calling Tucker that is unfair to useful idiots. No, he's made a cynical decision to chase MAGA's affection for dictators. And what better way to cash in than Putin's Kremlin?
Okay. So thoughts, Tom?
I'll tell you, the jealousy in the American media is palpable, and the envy. It's not just jealousy anymore; it is just green-eyed envy. You are sitting there, Chris, and you know what? I like Chris Wallace, but facts are facts. You wanted to be elevated. Bill O'Reilly's going out. There's reorganizations going. They weren't going to elevate you at Fox. You didn't get your next career step. December 2021, you go on almost a tearful goodbye on Fox, saying you're going to be the pillar on CNN Plus when it launches in April of 22. You're going to be the lead guy. It doesn't even get off the ground. They had trouble selling advertisers. They had trouble getting hard promotions for that. They had trouble getting it off the ground. And you were one of the pillars that was supposed to be there. So then who's talking to Chris Wallace gets relegated to the backyard at CNN Max, a streaming service that's on the back end. And guess what? You did have an interview with Putin. Good job. You asked a question there that was kind of tough. Good job. But you didn't get the interview this time. And who's talking to Chris Wallace? Not a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of envy that's going on here. And so what you're seeing there is a guy who I regard, and I've got some respect for Chris Wallace. I've seen his work on Fox, but he's coming out as envious here. He's coming out as jealous. They're poking him, and they got destroyed. And if you want to take a look at ratings and views, they got destroyed. And so they're coming out with their talking points on this, and I think that's what's happening. And, Chris Wallace, your dad went over and spoke to Ayatollah during a hot conflict. Come on.
He's a shield. He was on Fox. He's that guy on the right, and then he switches teams and goes to CNN. I mean, professional. Yeah, he's awesome, but I don't respect anybody that's like barking for one side. Then he's like, no, I'm going to go to the other side. Who are you?
What did Trump say to him to his face? He goes, "You're no Mike Wallace. You're not your dad."
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, if you want to watch a good documentary, watch a documentary of his father called "I Am." Mike Wallace is here. Phenomenal documentary. Mm-hmm. It tells a story about Chris Wallace's brother, what happened to him. Anyways, it's worth watching. I will tell you this, that Chris Wallace, if you're watching this, the game's changing. It's called a long-form podcast. Tucker didn't just do an interview. He did a long-form podcast. It's a 2 hour and 7 minute podcast, not a 45-minute thing. It's a very different format than what you're accustomed to, Chris. I know you sit there and you go do what you do. I know the Richard Nixon 4-part interview that came out years ago, Watergate, all that stuff. Okay, fine. This is a podcast. It's called New Media. And New Media is you ask a question, you let the person talk. There's a reason why people like guys like Joe and Lex. They ask a question, they let the person talk, and they let the world decide. And the interviewer gets judged to say, I can't believe you didn't ask this. I can't believe you didn't ask that. It's like us. We're such professional football players. Why did he not move away from the ball and it hit his foot in the San Francisco? If it wasn't for that fumble for San Francisco, why did he play that call? We're all professional football coaches, right? Experts when it comes down to telling people what to do on TV. You're a professional one, but Tucker's right now number one at his spot, and give the man his credit for where he's done. So, Chris, that's what I would tell you. I think the game is changing. Podcast is a new way of doing it, not the teleprompter, somebody telling you in your ear what to say. All right, let's go to the next story here. Next story, I want to kind of go, because it goes with this, is the Senate, Senate bill that just passed. Senate moves forward with Israel-Ukraine funding after vote on Super Bowl Sunday. So check this out. Do you remember when they called this the border bill, and everybody on the left says, look at these guys, they don't even want to defend their border. Look at everything they're doing, because out of $118 billion, $60 billion of it was going to Ukraine. And then eventually, guess what the establishment told you? They said, look, we don't give a shit what you guys think. We're going to do it with or without you anyways, voters. You're going to forget about this in about 2 months, and you won't even remember what this bill was caused. That's how you guys roll. We're going to get it done. Don't worry about it. Here's what we're doing. Some of you guys have been asking about PBD Podcast gear. We finally have it. Here's your PBD Podcast gear you were asking about. That mug, if you order today, the PBD Podcast hat or the PBD Podcast shirt combined together, you get the mug for free on the house. We'll send it over to you. And remember, if supply you order over $70, shipping is free. And this mug you see me holding right now, when you put a hot coffee or hot tea or hot water in it, it turns into the PBD Podcast colors that we got. So if you're at the office working, if you want to go brag about the fact that you listen to content and you can entertain opposing ideas and see it could spark a conversation with others, go get yourself the hat, the shirt, and we'll send a mug over to you.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.